Buzz City, I'm rocking with you. All right. All it took was getting Michael Jordan. All it took was getting Michael Jordan out of
Yeah.
ownership. 30 wins. That's it. 30 wins. Drive to 30. That's what we're
Yeah,
going for.
that's what we
You
need.
win
Baby
30
steps.
games this
Baby
year.
steps.
Success in Charlotte.
Why?
What's up, guys? Welcome back to the Hoop Portal. Today, we are going to get into some bets on the NBA. Me and Jacob have taken the time. We've looked at DraftKings, we looked at ESPN Bet, we looked at MGM, a lot of different outlets to see like what NBA bets are we smashing this year. I've got three, Jacob's got three. We're gonna get right into it because it might be a long podcast. If you're listening, remember, like, subscribe, enter your name in the portal. And guys, this is a long one, so honestly, put 1.5, listen to that thing all the way through, and put the notifications on so you always get the updates on our videos. Jacob, welcome back. We're going to get straight into it. Give us your first NBA bet you are smashing.
So the odds for the Philadelphia 76ers to win the division are now at plus 600, Knicks being the favorite at minus 300. What really caught my attention first with this bet is the Sixers have the same odds as the Boston Celtics to win the Atlantic Division going into next season. And, obviously with Joe Mazzulla, with Brad Stevens, Jaylen Brown, they're all basketball sickos. And it's hard for them / they wouldn't ever admit to openly like punting on the season. But for a team that's not going to have Jason Tatum next season, for a team that's kind of in that, uncharted, are we rebuilding? Are we just taking a gap year? Are we going to be competitive? Is this going to be a playoff team, play-in team? Like, however you want to dice it up, the fact that the 76ers, and granted, I understand why, especially with how bad last season went as a whole, the 76ers and the Celtics have the same odds at plus 600. That caught my eye, especially with, I know obviously the Knicks are going to get a lot of love for what they did last season, but in terms of like a sneaky candidate, this might come back to bite me. I'm not going to lie to you, Jordan. I'm optimistic. I'm cautiously optimistic about the 76ers going into next season.
I'm going to be honest with you, buddy. You're probably spending a little too much time out there in PA and a little too close to Philly. Whatever's in the water in Philadelphia has made its way to Lancaster, and it's getting infected in you. And I'm honestly a bit concerned.
That's
so
a fair
what you need to
assessment.
tell me, because the obvious point, you kind of alluded to it, but the obvious point is how in the world are the Sixers going to have a better regular season than the Knicks?
So I got two reasons for you. First one, I believe in more than the second one. Second one's a little bit of I'm like 20% trolling, but I'm 80% serious. The first reason that I'm 100% confident in is this last season was worst case scenario for the 76ers. You had McCain get hurt. Paul George looked terrible. Embiid was in and out of the lineup. You weren't really sure about where his conditioning was going to be at. I'm a big believer in Nick Nurse. I'm going to believe in Joel Embiid that he can become a playoff team. He can let this team be a playoff team. Like I'm supremely confident in Joel Embiid until he fully retires. I'm not saying MVP. I'm not saying he needs to be in the same breath as Nikola Jokic. I'm not saying that they're going to be a 1 seed. But this 76ers team can still be a top 5 seed in the East next year. You take a look at, I love their reaction, and rightfully so. But with the Pacers being down for the count, Celtics potentially being down for the count, East, historically, last 5 seasons, they've been a little bit weaker. Until Embiid is completely finished, I'm confident that they are a team that is capable of being a first-round, second-round playoff team. Like, it could not have gotten any worse for Paul George last season. It could not have gone any worse for the 76ers as a whole next season. Like, this was rock bottom. You can make the argument that this was the team that had the biggest, downfall, so to speak, from last season's expectations versus what actually happened. I'm supremely confident that it's not going to be as bad next season. Number 2 being, I'm going to take Nick Nurse over Mike Brown. I'm not a big Mike Brown believer. And we can debate this for another time. Like, this could be a 45-minute segment on why they shouldn't have fired Tom Thibodeau. You got to the conference finals and you're replacing Tom Thibodeau with Mike Brown. I think that is a significant downgrade. I don't think that's a good hire at all. I understand that the Knicks are a different team than the LeBron James Cavaliers team that he was a head coach of and the Kobe Bryant Los Angeles Lakers team that he was a head coach of. Mike Brown is more suited for that Sacramento Kings type of organization where you need to take a bad team and make them a playoff team as opposed to a playoff team with championship expectations. No disrespect to Mike Brown, he just hasn't accomplished that yet in his NBA coaching career. So those are two reasons for me why I think the 76ers are due for a bounce back and due for much needed progression going into next season.
Well, you know what? You sold me. Wow, you have pushed me further towards the side that okay, maybe they can have it because you're right. There is talent there. I think part of it is I just Philly doesn't. I don't know where they're going. Like I do like the future. I really like what McCain's showing. I like what Maxi's doing, but it's just the Embiid and the Paul George piece where
I
I'm
get
just
it.
like, and with that the regular season, I almost am completely with you where it's like if they're healthy and they're in the playoffs, whatever seed they were, I would totally like that roster and that team going up against the rest of the East this year. I think the thing with me is just over that 82 game stretch where it's like that is going to be tough.
The value being at 600 when that's the same value as the Boston Celtics, and I love my Boston Celtics. Don't get me wrong. I'm not supremely confident in them being Atlantic Division champions next season. The fact that they have the same odds as the 76ers, I like that value.
Yeah, for sure. For sure. Good deal. All right. We're going to get into mine. First one. I am taking the Nuggets to be NBA champs at plus 700. The first thing here that actually surprised me when we originally talked about doing this, it was plus 750, and now it's gone to plus 700. So what I'm seeing here is that the NBA and the betting odds and all that in Vegas are seeing that this team is starting to trend, and the Nuggets are actually the second favorite. The Thunder are like plus 225, and the next one is the Nuggets at plus 700. So Vegas is saying the Thunder are the heavy favorites, which you and I have discussed about. I don't think that they were that head and shoulders above the rest of the NBA this year. I get they had the regular season. I get they won the championship. But I'm going to be completely honest. That series with Denver and definitely against Indiana, where it's like I don't feel that OKC was hands down this perennial favorite. First piece, though, if we get into Denver, that team needed depth and they needed more defense. I think they've answered that this offseason. They've added Cam Johnson, which was the trade for Michael Porter Jr. And in a weird way, it's almost like you wouldn't say Cam is better than Michael Porter Jr. in like a one-on-one or a one-off just observing both of them. But if you put them, you take, in a weird way, you almost did upgrade though. It's so hard to explain, but it's like if you watch it, you're like, Denver needed Cam more than they would need an MPJ. They added Valanciunas, and I get there's a situation of like, is he gonna go play in Europe? Is he gonna stay here? I'm basing this off the reports is that he's gonna play in Denver next year. That is a huge lift and a huge piece added, I think, to get behind Jokic. They added Hardaway. I love bringing Bruce Brown back. And again, you've answered those defensive questions now with Cam Johnson because Michael Porter Jr. is not guarding anybody. His one purpose in life is to shoot shots on and off the court. That's all he does. Okay. You've added a person that will play defense that's going to contribute to winning basketball like Cam Johnson. You've got Valanciunas who can now back up Jokic as still having a defensive anchor in the back on the backside of it. And then Aaron Gordon. Can he stay healthy? He had some soft hair issues last year. If he's able to get those right and you can go into the NBA playoffs with that squad, and truth be told, and we'll get into this when we get into our MVP picks, but Jokic is the MVP every single year. He is the best player in the NBA. It's just if the media decide they want to give one to Shea or they want to give one to Embiid, or hopefully this year they want to give one to Luka, it's just he is the best player in every single series. And for teams that can win championships, if you look at the last, 7 of them, it's been teams that can go big. It can teams that can play fast. They can slow it down. They can go big. They can go small. And truthfully, who has the best player on the court is going to win that out. Lastly, with the Thunder, that series, Denver was up going into the fourth quarter, up 2-1 at home in Denver. If they're able to close that game out against OKC and go up 3-1 in the series, I don't think OKC is coming back from that. And you're literally just a few minutes away from going up 3-1 to being tied 2 and then having a game 7 in Oklahoma City with Aaron Gordon playing with a torn hamstring. So it's like that the difference between those two teams is not that drastic. And I
Agreed.
think you get Russ off the team, which is still not figured out, but I just think you get Russ off the team, you bring these pieces in. Like if you look at that and say we're losing Russ and MPJ and we're adding Cam Johnson, Valanciunas, Hardaway Jr., and Bruce Brown, you're doing that for that roster and trying to win an NBA championship. And so the last point with Denver, I know I'm kind of going on with them. Can they continue to get a potential star out of Christian Brown? He had flashes and glimpses in that OKC series of like, hey, this dude might be when Murray's out or whatever, he could be that guard that they go to. The problem was is he did have games. I think he had 2 single-digit games against the Thunder in that series. If he continues to develop, they've added this defensive presence, they've added this depth. I think getting off Mike Malone and bringing that new voice in, which I thought wasn't a good idea at the time, firing an NBA champion coach right before the playoffs, but clearly it did look like it sparked something with that team. And maybe now you give him some more continuity. The players are behind him. You've added these pieces. I'm here for it.
Yeah, so a couple points I definitely agree with. One, I don't. You're higher on Mike Malone than I am. I was not, needless to say, not a Mike Malone truther. But in all seriousness and in all fairness, I think David Adelman is beloved in that locker room. From all reports from the beat reporters, national reporting is that David Adelman was the go-to choice, which is why you make that move to begin with, right? Like you don't fire Mike Malone unless you have somebody that you're confident in going forward. I think Mike Malone's going to be a really good coach for wherever he ends up. He's not currently hired anywhere, right? Yeah, not yet. So wherever he ends up, I know he's going to do a good job, but I thought he was getting a little bit stale, and I'm glad that David Adelman has the full-fledged support from that locker room. You made that point about the depth. Champions and championships are won definitely with that solidified number one: LeBron, Giannis, Jason Tatum. Just going forward, but those champions are also made by the Derek Whites, the Alex Carusos, the Kyle Kuzmas in the bubble, and the Rajon Rondos. But losing and bringing back Bruce Brown is going to be a fantastic piece. I thought they regressed when they got rid of Kentavious Caldwell-Pope. I understand KCP might not be a household name or go-to, like this is what it takes to win a championship, but it's those depth pieces around Nikola Jokic. That's why they fell short, in my opinion, in Game 7 against Oklahoma City. That's why they fell short a couple years back in 22 against the Golden State Warriors. Like, Jokic looked gassed towards the end of that series. And I think when you have a full offseason and you have a longer offseason than going to the championship, I think that's going to work out in their favor. And I had an Oklahoma City fan who's a dear friend of mine, and he was stressing the entire series. Like, they had Oklahoma City on the ropes at a couple different points in that series. And I could not agree more. I think I'm, especially as a Celtics fan, but even as an NBA fan, no matter who I was a fan of, I have to sleep with one eye open with the best player in the world and Nikola Jokic. And so now that he has that improved depth around him, I think it's going to be big things for the Denver Nuggets next season.
Yeah, and I see a lot, honestly, I think part of the issue with Malone was that is a team whose superstars, which is Murray and Jokic, are not the personalities of Anthony Edwards and Luka Doncic and Embiid, even, and like those guys. Like there's a huge similarity between, personality wise, not in game at all, but a huge similarity between the Celtics with Tatum and Brown and the Nuggets with Murray and Jokic. There's not this huge bravado. It's just like we compete, we play hard, we do it right, and we are perennial championship contenders because of these things. We're not the loudest barkers, and that's where I think Malone kind of had to step into that light, because it was like somebody's got to be talking trash, somebody's got to
Sure.
be having their chest out, and I think honestly it got him in trouble. I think that's a
Yeah.
big piece of probably why the players were just like, this is not what we want. Where you look at Boston and Missoula, who's a basketball sicko, but he still is going to have that. Like he's way more relatable from the player standpoint than what Mike Malone is going to be for any of them.
Right.
So I think Malone kind of did to himself. He is a good coach, and props to him. He won a championship, and that doesn't mean anything in the NBA. You can win rings unless you're Doc Rivers and you carry that 2008 championship for 20 years and continue to maintain a job, which is just beyond me. But it's okay. We're not going to rage bait Jacob with the Celtics right now. I might save it for another podcast. But
I appreciate that. And the only other point that I wanted to make was I agree with you that the Cam Johnson might not have to match or might not be able to match the Michael Porter Jr. points per game, but I don't think he needs to. It's just the efficiency and what he's going to bring to the offense that's going to open up a couple different options, and I agree with you wholeheartedly. Even though I think Michael Porter Jr. is becoming one of the funniest players in the league.
He is. He definitely is up there. Him and LaMelo are 1 and 2 right now. Let's get into the next one. J-Rob, go ahead. The floor is yours. What is your second bet you're going to be placing this year?
San Antonio Spurs are plus 700 to win the Southwest Division. Houston is the favorite at minus 350. And I don't know. I think that there's a couple questions that you can ask here. I think it's, not a bad question to be asking if what happens if the Spurs gel better than Houston. I understand Houston was a 2 seed last year. I understand they were a game 7 from getting to the second round, and who knows what that second round matchup could have looked like, going forward had they not been eliminated in that game 7 at home. But are we automatically thinking that KD is going to get this team to a top 3 seed and have a cakewalk to the division? That's a tougher division in the NBA. Mitch Johnson is going into his second year. It's arguably his first full year, so to speak, because you don't have, what was going on with Popovich kind of looming large over the program. And I really like Mitch Johnson. I think he's an up and coming coach. I think he's a sleeper candidate for coach of the year next season. I love the young talent around Wembanyama. You have guys like Devin Vassell. You have Harper with the, coming in with the second overall pick. And I'm high on San Antonio to try to get back to some of those winning ways that they experienced at the tail end of the Kawhi, Manu Ginobili, Tim Duncan years. I'm big on San Antonio this season, and I think because the division favorite is a team that has some question marks on defense, has some question marks in what they look like next season. Obviously, you have the box office Kevin Durant. Kevin Durant's an incredible talent. He's also, 38 years old? It's harder for the 76ers to win the division in my mind because of how solidified the Knicks are from top to bottom. Houston, though, there's a couple different question marks. They're still a little bit young in Alperen Şengün and Thompson. And I just think with San Antonio, I'm really big on them next season, and I think plus 700, the fact that they have a longer odds to win the division compared to Philadelphia, to me, that's tremendous value. And then I saved this for last. I love Wembanyama hanging out with Kevin Garnett. He got the peaceful side with the monks in Asia and tapping into his inner soul, and now he's doing a complete 180. He's getting both sides of the spectrum here, and I think I love him working out and talking to Kevin Garnett. I think he's going to elevate his game going into next season, and we've already talked about outside of this podcast how everyone's screwed once he gets some consistency and some playoff success. I'm expecting a big jump this season, and I think the Spurs are definitely well within reach to win the Southwest Division.
Yeah, I actually love this pick too, regardless of what the odds are. I think my biggest thing with Houston is that is such a defensive-minded unit last year under Ime Udoka. I don't think Kevin Durant is going to fit that defensive piece with the physicality and the toughness that they're going to want to play with. I think if San Antonio is able to develop those young guys a little bit quicker than you would want to, specifically Dylan Harper, but again, he's not going to start. You don't have to play him right away. You've got De'Aaron Fox there. You've got, I think, Wemby, who is going to crack the top 5 this year. So I think, and I'm with you, I think Mitch Johnson is an amazing hire. I think the Spurs have killed it in basically every decision they've made since the late 90s. I mean, that just is just one of those franchise and organizations that continuously, even when they're bad, you still see a clear vision for the future. And now they're going to, I think, start laying that groundwork down. And there's no reason to me Wemby can't crack the top 5 this year. He's got to stay healthy. That's the biggest thing. But even then, I just think he is going he is hitting that from what we've seen flashes of inside and outside game. It's going to be hard to find players that you're going to take over Wembanyama, even in just a 1 year stretch, not the future. So I'm with you on that. I love that selection. Spurs win the division. I'm not, you know me, I'm not an Udoka fan, and I'm not the biggest KD supporter either. And I think it's just, I really liked what Houston had with Jalen Green. I know he struggled, and we've talked about this what feels like forever ago. He was still, if I'm correct, the leading scorer on that team.
Yeah.
And
it was just a bad playoff series. That's all it was.
It was the bad playoff series against a team that had championship pedigree.
Right.
The Warriors know what they're doing in that situation. This wasn't, and it's just yeah. So I'm with you. I think Houston, you have to pull the trigger and get Kevin Durant because it is Kevin Durant.
Correct.
But I honestly just really liked what they were doing around. And also, too, I'm not a big Van Fleet guy. Just another piece where I'm just like, you are going to start relying a lot on these players. And I'm not with it. So I do like that pick, and I think the Spurs actually do have a really, really good year. And shout out Carter Bryant. You're hearing it on the Hoop Portal first. That young man is going to be Dennis Rodman with a jump shot. It is about to be scary in San Antonio with that kid. I'm telling you. Amazing summer league.
And to co-sign your earlier take, this is an easy lock if Dylan Harper reaches potential that the number 2 overall pick brings. Like, if he can get you 15 in his rookie season, you're soaring.
And honestly, I think this is a hot take, but this is what we do it for. I think Dylan Harper is better than Cooper Flagg. I genuinely think he is going to have a better NBA career than Cooper Flagg because I think Harper can crack legit superstar status. I think Cooper is more of just a star. And I'm not saying he's going to be Chet, but I feel like there's more Chet and Cooper resemblance than Harper, who has, I think, a complete superstar ceiling with him.
If Cooper has Chet in him, then that's a big oh no for the Dallas Mavericks because I'm not big on Chet Holmgren whatsoever, but that's another podcast for another time. The one thing I wanted to push back on, Dylan Harper doesn't have that nickname that's as good as the Main Event, and that might be a top 5 nickname in the league like right now. Main Event is fantastic. I mean, the floor is yours, George. Like, I don't see anything from Dylan Harper that is as good as the Main Event. But I don't necessarily hate that take in all seriousness.
San Antonio and they're teaching Dylan Harper he's going to be like Jason Tatum. Okay, he's just going to be strict business.
And I'm all in. I'm
not here
you got
for
me
the
back
nicknames. We get to have the pressure and have absolutely no respect and admiration. Okay,
I'm back.
That's what Dylan Harper's doing. All right, he's
I'm
about
back.
to be Jason Tatum. He's back. All right. Here we go. My second one. Okay. I have been, this, and I'm absolutely prisoner of the moment. I'm not sure what is going on. This might be you in Philly. I am loving what the Hornets have done this offseason. They are, the over-under right now for the Hornets, 26.5 wins. At first, I thought maybe it was like LaMelo Ball. How many games is he actually going to play this season? Over under 26.5 because he's at 105 games in the last 3 seasons. But here's my thing, okay? I'm loving what the new GM is doing. I love having Charles Lee as the coach. I love the draft pick of Concanipple. What Charlotte is starting to set as their DNA and the type of players that they want, I think they crushed it in this draft of getting guys from winning programs. They got James from Duke. They got Con from Duke. They got McNeely from UConn. And you know how I feel about UConn and anybody that's going to come out of Hurley's program. And they added Kalkbrenner, which is, I think, an amazing defensive piece to add in the NBA. I don't think he's going to be this great player, but to me,
he doesn't have to be.
He doesn't have to
be solid. Yeah.
If he could be Brooke Lopez, that would be fantastic.
Over the moon.
And that's what I think his comp is.
Right.
So I'm taking the Hornets to go over 26.5 wins. The East is in a down year, okay? And that is your point with Philly. The East is in a down year. The Hornets have to be able to win 30 games this year. With that roster, that group, and I think, as well as, because I've already said Dylan Harper, I think is going to be better than Cooper Flagg. Now here comes my next hot take. Killa Khan wins Rookie of the Year this year.
Wow.
Over everybody else.
Wow.
And LaMelo, can we get LaMelo to 50? I just said we. Holy crap. That was wild. Can the Hornets get LaMelo Ball to
Hey,
50
if you're all
games.
in, you're all in. Don't let anybody stop you from being all in.
It's between Denver and Charlotte right now. Okay, that's
Yeah.
going to be the NBA Finals. Wait for our predictions week. But no, if the Hornets can you get 50 to 60 games out of LaMelo, he is a clear star, and I think these pieces start adding to winning culture. There's still a move. I don't like Miles Bridges being there, honestly. I think if they traded him, got more draft capital, or try to get some other more guys that veteran pieces that contribute to winning culture, I would love that mix with LaMelo, with these new guys coming in. I love Charles Lee's coming in as the coach. He's got experience at Boston. He's got experience in Milwaukee. He knows how to win games. I am all in on flirting with the Hornets this year to make the playoffs, but I think 26 and a half wins, I think they easily do that. I'm smashing that one.
Yeah, the only reason why I was smiling, is just it's kind of like the comparison I'm going to make is the Milwaukee Brewers. Love the opinion, love the takes you're having. I totally get it. Evidence is right there in front of us. But I just have to see it, before I believe it. I just can't believe it yet. Milwaukee Brewers are the best team in baseball. They haven't done anything come October. So I get it. I understand what's there, the statistics. You made all the right points. And one of these years, why not now? But one of these years, they're going to do something. Just like the Milwaukee Brewers are going to do something now, 2028, 2035. At some October, Brewers are going to do something. And at some point, the Charlotte Hornets, we're going to be telling our kids about how poverty the Charlotte Hornets used to be, how they were the laughing stock of the league. And fast forward to whenever that, next chapter is going to be, they're now a top 5 perennial Eastern Conference contender. It's going to happen at some point. Why not now? But it's just hard for me to not be skeptical with what's been going on. And I'm not going to make this whole can LaMelo be the face of your franchise? Can you win with LaMelo being the one? All we want is them to get out of the play-in and be a solidified 4 seed. That would be amazing for the culture of Charlotte. Would be amazing for the Hornets franchise if they get the 5th seed. I'll watch every single playoff game. I'll make that promise to you right now, Jordan. But it's just my heart. There's something in me that is preventing me from getting excited about what the Hornets can do because of everything that's been happening over the last 7-8 years.
And you know what? It's in my heart too. Buzz City is here. Finally, okay? 30 wins. That's it. 30 wins. Drive to 30. That's what we're going for.
That's what we need.
You win 30
Baby steps.
games this
Baby
year.
Steps.
Success in Charlotte.
Why
okay?
not? Why not
You
us?
heard it. All it took was getting Michael Jordan. Out of ownership, okay, or whatever it is he's doing now. Also, that's a knock on his resume. LeBron is part owner of Liverpool. They win leagues. You see what Michael Jordan did to Charlotte. So add it to the GOAT talk, okay? So LeBron is just even further separating himself. Buzz City, I'm rocking with you. All right, let's get into it. Jacob, your third pick. I love this. This is too much fun.
All right, so my last pick, the Giannis MVP odds are at plus 900. And this is somebody who has won the MVP before. So, I don't know. I'm kind of drawing comparisons here, and this might be a stretch. This might be a yoga level stretch. But you had LeBron in 2018 kind of go scorched earth before. There have been MVP seasons. Russell Westbrook with Oklahoma City, James Harden with Houston, where the supporting cast wasn't really that good around them. And it took a significant statistical season in all 3 categories, points, rebounds, assists, for that player to elevate themselves, even if that team was a 6 seed, 5 seed, 7 seed. And I think that's the case here with Milwaukee. I understand, not the biggest Doc Rivers fan. I totally understand it. Look, I think the 08 Celtics between Doc and Paul Pierce were actively taking away from the legacy of the 08 Celtics sometimes. But at 900 for somebody who's still a top 5 player in the league, who is still in his prime, so to speak, and hasn't shown any signs of slowing down, I love that MVP. I love those MVP odds. And it's a narrative award. And that can, create, open up a Pandora's box of, the meaning of MVP. And so, I'll save that rant for another time. But Giannis, if anybody in the league is capable of going scorched earth and dragging a bottom half roster to a top 6 seed in their respective conference, I think it's Giannis with Milwaukee here. And I understand it was disappointing the Dame Lillard tenure and losing some of those pieces of the championship in years past, and a lot of departures are out the window. Not a lot of reasons to be excited if you're a Milwaukee Bucks fan this upcoming season. You're kind of teetering on, well, like, do I want Giannis to be a career Milwaukee Buck? Should we just get something for him as opposed to losing him for nothing when he walks in free agency? Does Giannis want to be here full term? From all signs point to him being here at least by the trade deadline. He didn't leave this offseason, and I think that was a major hurdle to clear for the Bucks organization. We don't know what the direction of the organization is. A lot of it is going to be dependent on what the long-term or even short-term future of Giannis is for the next 3 to 4 seasons. Why not? Why not go scorched earth this year? Why not drag this underperforming team? If he can get this team to a top 5 seed, top 4 seed, especially like what we said, we said this a lot, but the East is not going to be that good next season. Indiana might be out of it. Boston might be out of it. We don't know what Orlando does. We don't know what Atlanta does. Knicks could regress with Mike Brown. I don't think it's out of the realm of possibilities that Giannis goes scorched earth, gets this team to a top 5 seed, and wins MVP next season.
Yeah, no, I definitely hear what you're saying. I think it is fascinating, and we've kind of said it. Every year, Jokic is MVP. Like, this is very similar to LeBron, those late Cleveland, Miami, back
Can't
to
give
Cleveland.
it to him every year.
Every year, that's who's the MVP. And it's the same thing with this situation. But Giannis, number-wise, is not that different than what Jokic is doing. It's just Jokic, I think, is consistently at that triple-double level. Right. And with Giannis, like you just said, he's won it before. The odds are really good to kind of go for that. The East is not going to be great. Who in the East who's the next best player in the East that's healthy and going to play next year?
Brunson, Jaylen Brown.
And those are guys. They're not touching Giannis. Not
break out Jalen Suggs here.
Right. That's it. Unless it's one of these new guys.
Right.
Cade Cunningham, Paulo Banchero.
Sure.
But even then, it's like those guys aren't Giannis yet. And so I'm with you on that one. Giannis is clearly the best player in the East. There's not even a player really close to him, I think, after this right now that's going to be healthy. The only one I would say would really push him is maybe Jason Tatum, but he's not going to be playing this year, or at least a majority of the year. So I'm with you on that. It's hard because we're about to get my MVP vote, which is my third bet. And it's hard because because it is a narrative and media-driven thing, and we both know Jokic is the best player in the NBA. Those spots kind of 2, 3, 4 are fluid and constantly moving. But that's where it's like there's not stats that are going to be like, this is why Giannis wins MVP because he's going to do this, this, and this. It really is just more of what's the narrative around him? Right. And I think there is a lot of press on him right now because of that potential trade. I think that's good for his MVP hopes because there's going to be more eyes on Milwaukee, which is never the case. Even when they win the championship, it's not a case that the media is watching Milwaukee.
Dude, I can see it now. Tears in his acceptance speech, talking about they thought I was going to leave. They thought we weren't going to be anything this season. I'm already seeing it now, man. It's cinema. I can't wait.
No, I'm with you on that one. I'm absolutely with you on that. I like that one, which gets me into my last one, which is I'm going Luka MVP at plus 500.
Skinny Luka.
Here's the thing. I'm glad you brought that up. Okay. If you have watched the Mavs closely over the last few years, and one of us on this has, we get this. This is not the first time we've heard skinny Luka. Yep. The problem with Luka is that he does this in the offseason. He doesn't maintain it through the season. He starts to pick up injuries. He starts to put weight on. He starts to look out of shape. He starts to whining and complaining and stuff with the refs. And I just think this year the narrative around him, we're not that far removed from him being head and shoulders better than Shea and them going to the NBA Finals. People forget
I think he's better than Shea right now.
Yeah, I'm with you. I'm with you, but you got to get it's the recency bias. Shea just had the best year in NBA history. Yeah. And we're 14 months removed from Luka being clearly the third best player on that list of best players in the NBA. And he might have, with the run last year, have been over Giannis. Like, he's at least in that top.
I think he's number 2 right now.
Okay, you've got him 2. I will, because of what's happened, I will give him 4. because I think right now Giannis is probably over there and Shea has to be at the top and then Jokic is there. But there's this element with Luka that I just think he Jokic has gotten MVPs before. They've given one to Embiid. They've given one. I don't want to say they gave it to Shea, but
They gave
Jokic's
it a
numbers
Shea.
were a lot better than Shea's this year.
Yes.
Luka, I think, is the next guy up in this media narrative to get that.
And it's a perfect narrative, but keep going.
It is a perfect narrative. He's in LA. He's got an awesome teammate with LeBron. The team is still. I mean, they finished third in the West last year, and I think there was so much noise going on.
Correct.
You had Luka literally was sad. Like, he literally was sad to leave Dallas. And I think there was a question of, was LeBron going to leave? Is he going to stay? There's still a slight question with that. But I think if LeBron, there's no place for LeBron, unless he could just drop in somewhere. There's no place for LeBron to go where he's going to have a better teammate than Luka Doncic.
And if they start like 5-2 in their first 7 games of next season, he's going to be there for the season.
Yeah,
like,
it'll be gone. So
yes.
and that's where I think this team can easily get to that top 4, top 3 spot again. And if Luka puts up the numbers he has, and if he's just at that level that we've seen Luka, even without the skinny I'm in shape, those are numbers that are close enough to win an MVP. I think the media gives it to him. If this skinny Luka is here to stay, and he even takes that game up another level, maybe defensively, or he's able to really, I don't know, maybe the rebounds go up 1 or 2 more and the assists go up 1 or 2 more, and he's constantly breaking that 30 threshold. It's like, come on, they're clearly going to give him the MVP because he's kind of owed it. And I'm here for it. I really am. I really am here for it. I'm pulling for Luka. I just think he's, from what has happened, Nico Harrison and that whole ordeal, right now people are actually thinking like, oh wait, Nico won. It really shifted when the Mavs got Cooper Flag. I don't care what Cooper Flag does. He's not going to be, I don't think he's going to be Luka Doncic. There's no way he's going to be Luka Doncic. And so you still lost the trade because Anthony Davis is Anthony Davis and Kyrie is not going to, I don't know
and
if
it's
Kyrie
Luka
plays
Doncic.
next year.
And it's Luka Doncic.
Freaking Doncic. Like, he just carried that Dallas Mavericks team to the NBA final. We're not gonna rant. Anyway, I've got Luka MVP. You've got Giannis MVP.
The one thing I do want to say though, Jordan, about the Luka part is, and I think this is so important that people don't people kind of grasp, but they don't put as much importance on it as they should be, and that's he himself admitted that he's just now starting to get over what had happened in Dallas. And this is, we're recording this on August 13th. I got the notification like a week or two ago. I want to say it was a week ago that he now is fully past what happened in Dallas. So the new slate and the mental aspect of it, especially for a player like Luka, that's going to be really important into next season, was not what happened last season. And I think that now there's some more continuity, right? Luka in year 2. JJ Redick now in season 2. And I think they're my sleeper. I don't know how far I want to go. I almost said they're going to be my sleeper championship team because I know there's still a lot of question marks. But this is your silver platter media narrative of Luka going scorched earth. He's pissed off. He's showing the league that he's still a top 2 player. Dallas, who might be hot next season in some spurts with Cooper Flag. No, you still made the wrong decision. Like, it's there. I can hear the Stephen A. Smith rant now in my head.
I'm with you, and I'm here for it because I think Luka deserves it. I think it's to have that situation happen. I mean, it shocked when something shocks other NBA players and NBA media. That's how you know it's something drastic just happened. Because most of them understand, yeah, it's a business. Yeah, there's always little rumblings. This literally came out of nowhere. Luka wanted to stay in Dallas. Dallas absolutely adored Luka. It was the next Dirk, who was better than Dirk. It was the next Dirk, who was better than Dirk, just got to the NBA Finals. And we've gone in about this too. You don't know. Hindsight's 2020. I get it from a playoff run. I don't. If Nico Harrison had just stood pat with that team and they stay healthy, I don't see a reason to completely write them off from not winning the West last year. And if they're in a series against the Indiana Pacers and it's not the Boston Celtics, I love Dallas in that situation.
Could you imagine if Oklahoma City, after the emotional toll that it took on them to beat that Denver Nuggets squad, after they win that Game 7, to then turn around and play the Luka Dallas Mavericks in that second round, in that conference finals? Totally agree.
Yeah, there we go. We're on the same page about a lot today. I think our biggest difference is
We got to start disagreeing. We got to start arguing. Can I ask you one last question?
Yeah, lay it on me.
Earlier in my takes, we were discussing the Sixers, and you kind of raised your eyebrows with Nick Nurse. Are we not a Nick Nurse believer?
The
Jordan,
Nick Nurse, okay.
You're breaking my heart.
Nick Nurse has a book called Rapture. I read it. I read it a long time ago, and it changed my opinion on him a bit.
From what?
Because there was a self-glorification in that about that 2019 NBA championship. Now, utmost respect to him. He came up through the G League ranks. I think he was in South Texas, which is not an easy place to be in at all. Anyways, no G League or D League team at that time was really an easy place to be in, right? Nobody's trying to go coach the Fort Wayne Mad Ants. Props to him for sticking that through and getting that job in Toronto. Let's be honest, though. Okay, this is where I think there needs to be a level of honesty. Any NBA championship is difficult to win, okay? And I'm the first to defend the bubble. I am. That 2019 championship, where Philly actually had the opportunity to make a run. Kawhi hits every part of the rim to get that ball to bounce in on a game 7. Amazing shot, bro. I can't take it away. I'm pulling for the Raptors this whole run.
Yeah.
But as a basketball fan, we can be honest that when you got to the finals and you played the Warriors without Klay, who tore his ACL in that series, and without Kevin Durant, who tore his Achilles in that series, let's not act, right? Let's not act like this was some amazing coaching job done to win an NBA championship. That is what changed me about Nick Nurse. We're seeing it, and then since then, there's been no relevancy from him. Go ahead.
The one thing I'm going to push back on, and I agree with you that Kawhi's not there. Who really knows? This was an underperforming Raptors team that had lost the last previous couple seasons before that. We'll never know. So this is really just a moot point. But I think, and this is a whole nother side tangent of the Celtics really dropped the ball in a plethora of ways, and you'll see what I'm getting at. I think, and I'll just cut to the chase, I think that if they win that Game 7 against the Celtics in the bubble, I think they beat the Heat in the conference finals, and they're playing the Lakers for the 2020 championship. We'll never know, obviously, right, because the Celtics won that Game 7, and then they ended up losing to the Heat. I don't think the Heat were these all-world, oh my God, the Miami Heat in the 2020 bubble. Obviously, they got hot at the right time, give them their credit. I think that Raptors team in 2020 was really, really good. And I think it was a really tough team that the Celtics, they fought hard, and that was a tough team that the Celtics had to beat. I think if they win that Game 7 against Boston, I think they beat the Heat, and they're playing the Lakers for the bubble chip. Do they beat the Lakers? Probably not. But I think that Nurse would have gotten a little bit more credit for the coaching job in Toronto had they made it, and they were going to go for back-to-back, going from winning in 19 to 20. I think if they beat the Celtics, they're playing for a bubble championship. I think that would have been big. I think that Raptors team in 2020 was really good.
And that would have been big to do it without Kawhi, right? To almost like be able to double down on that.
Right.
I do think, and Nick Nurse is a great coach, and I'm not trying to take away from him.
No, of course.
Any ring is a ring, right? It is. Any ring is a ring. But there's levels and there's certain weights on one ring versus another. And I think in that run, it was an all-time just debacle of what is going on in basketball right now. The image that, and the crazy thing is Toronto wins that championship. The only image I truly have from that playoff whole run was Embiid walking up the tunnel in absolute tears, because that literally was the complete end of any chance Philly ever had from that point on. That, in my opinion, that's why I can't get behind Philly now. And that was literally done by Nick Nurse and Kawhi Leonard and hitting that crazy shot. But like even that finals about them that they won, the images you get from that playoff run is KD with the Achilles, Clay with the ACL, Embiid crying up the tunnel of Toronto. Like, to me, it's just like they won it and they got it. But in any other circumstance, I'm not sure they get it. And I'm trying to do that with OKC right now because I, in my head,
Yeah, we could
Halliburton
do
was
this
going
all.
for 50.
Yeah, we could do this all day.
Right? Hallie was
Yeah.
going for 50, and they were going to lose that game 7 because they weren't the best team in the NBA this year. So,
Yeah.
but we digress. That is my thing with Nick
That's interesting.
Nurse,
No,
where I'm
I had to
just
ask.
not,
100%.
yeah, not as
100%.
crazy about him. But yeah. All right. Well, if you've made it this far and you're not subscribed, you're not liked, and you've not had the notification bell, come on, enter your name in the portal, get behind us. We'll have some more clips coming up. And yeah, Jacob, thank you for being here today. Really appreciate it. All right, guys, thank you for being here. Appreciate it. Get involved in your name in the portal. See you guys on the next one.